Morning guys, Scrappy again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The CDL is officially back in action this evening. More matches coming up. OpTic Texas play 2 games this weekend, including a massive one against Thieves on this upcoming Sunday. But they were playing some more scrims last night. The first time they've really battled FaZe in a very long period of time. Just a couple of weeks ago, FaZe were having a hard time in scrims against challenger teams. 2 weeks later, they're having a great time in scrims against OpTic Texas. Couple of very interesting scrim results last night, especially after FaZe won the minor. Where do OpTic sit at the moment? Do they have a lot of work to do if they want to beat Thieves this upcoming weekend, especially given Shotzzy's comments over the last couple of weeks? Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. We did of course see this clip yesterday from aBeZy's perspective, and I was just kind of looking for Dashy's point of view as well, and we saw it right at the start here. To be fair, that Dashy's got a pistol out, and wow, aBeZy comes flying around the corner. So yeah, but to be fair, it's Jackal versus pistol. Maybe that's kind of what you expect, but yeah, still mind-blowing stuff. This I thought was kind of interesting as well yesterday, seeing Huke the Nuke back on Advanced Warfare. Probably still, even though he was like 14-15, his best ever game as a player. Like, just so good at this game. I love this game as well. It was so much fun. And when Huke was coming into the scene on iLLeY, PowerPoint, among others, that was great stuff. And Shotzzy was on it as well. I'm not exactly sure what Shotzzy did with this video, by the way, because he's managed to post a video which is 0 seconds long. It's 1 frame. But it's a video and it's glitching out. I don't know how Shotzzy's done that. But anyway, he says, this range to nowadays is crazy, right? So this was the first ever firing range in Call of Duty. And to be fair, Sledgehammer killed it with this. I don't think BO3 or Infinite Warfare had one. And then World War II, Sledgehammer brought it back again, which also was pretty good. But I'm not sure it was quite as good as the original. I loved this one because there were like so many different options. There were like 9 or 10 different booths that you could go and stand in. And then you would, you know, get to use the firing range. So Shotzzy was like, how come in 2014 when this game came out, it's just so much better. iLLeY, by the way, and I am going to call him that again because he officially confirms the YodaKing arc is over. Just as I was starting to kind of say, you know what, maybe I see the vision here. Like, I think that iLLeY is the better gamer tag. I think it is the way to go. But once you talk about YodaKing for a week, you know, it starts to get ingrained a little bit. Anyway, his Twitter @is still YodaKing. As he says, they've been playing in the Challengers Elite. Currently top 3 in the Elite. We continue next week. And yes, I'm going to change my @ back when I can. So, yeah, he's changed his name back on Twitter to iLLeY. His @ of course, is still YodaKing. He probably hasn't managed this the best, has he, really? Because he must have been, at the time anyway, 100% convinced that this is what he was going to do and he was going to change his name in this way, because he didn't create the other account and then keep his own one, if you see what I'm saying, right? Because he obviously parted ways with the iLLeY, with the Y Twitter handle. As we saw yesterday, that is still suspended. So maybe iLLeY's having a word with them about that. But, you know, maybe he could have changed it and then, before anyone noticed, secured the old @ as well, just in case he wanted to go back. But that didn't happen. So he's got to work on that. I imagine he's talking to Twitter about it. It's a bit of a hassle, isn't it? That really didn't need to happen at all. But whatever, it was good fun for a couple of days. Now, Falcons last night have confirmed something pretty mega. K-Sun doing great things for the COD scene, and Falcons, they're stepping up to the plate as well. Of course, they've offered as well to pay for the Challengers events for OpTic at Major 2 in Dallas. We'll see if that goes ahead or not. But what they are also going to do is run the Vegas Falcons Ladder. So kind of similar to what we did with BPL Breaking Point Ladder last year, and this is the plan. So it's a pick-up game initiative, they call it, basically Money 8s in some form, 2 teams of 4, designed to bring together the best talent to fight for $10,000 over 10 days. Now, it is weird in COD, not maybe weird, I get it, but there are so many pro players who they're pretty happy just to say, all right, I'll get on, I'll do my scrims, the couple of scrim sets today, and then I'll just get off and play Marvel Rivals or whatever. We know that Shotzzy, among others, have called out many pro players for behaving in this way. Other pros, they want to play 8. They want to play more Call of Duty, but not many are actually particularly willing to, even at this point. There are a handful that will play most days, but this is a way to make it slightly more structured. So the plan is, as of today, the 17th, until the 26th of January, so basically running from today up until Madrid, there's going to be a $10,000 prize pool, respawn 8s, and this is what we said the other day with K-Sun's thing. I think what he's doing is fantastic as well. It's kind of similar idea to this on some way, but of course that's more like a tournament play where you play for 1 day, 4 teams of 4, you know, 1 team wins, single elimination, that type of stuff. But of course that was just the pros, whereas this will be a ladder open to a number of players. Pros, rising stars, former pros, whatever. They can get involved, they can play. and, select the teams, I guess use some sort of Discord bot or something kind of similar to what we did with BPL, and run it through. The player that wins the most, they win the whole thing. So we go on about the Falcons, but they're trying to help the scene in some regard, right? We've talked about this a lot, the lack of content in the scene and this type of competition, because, you want to have some good competitive Call of Duty to watch, ideally, almost every single day, whether it's official or non-official, and I think this is going to help the process over there. As Clay says, Falcons wanted to do something to combat cheaters, right? Because, of course, you can't play ranked because there's cheaters everywhere, and there aren't really many 8 series even happening because players aren't really down, it's too much hassle, whatever. So Falcons are throwing some money up, they're making a ladder with payouts for the top 8 to the top players in the game, and it's cool to see that many players could play in this. Obviously, rising stars, challenger players, former pros could get involved as well. I think it's going to be great to watch over the next couple of weeks, really, before we go to Madrid, and maybe they'll put up another 10k to run a similar thing during Major 2 cycle. That would be absolutely sensational. Let's talk, though, about some scrims and some interesting results. This just quickly to note, on the challenger side, here was, Bancy Castle trying to basically stop this guy defusing, this mighty guy on Notorious Gaming, but it seems like what he's done here is he's stretch defused the bomb by basically like sprint sliding through the bomb, and then as you pick it up with the square, then you move past where you're meant to be able to defuse from. This has been a glitch for a little bit of time, and it's something which I think technically is GA'd, right? Like, if you're defusing, you're meant to defuse where the bomb is placed. But obviously you don't necessarily have to do that because the game is a little bit broken. So it's caused a bit of drama, this. And I did wonder whether in the pro scene we might see any of this happening. Because if a pro did this, the pros would probably say, that's a weak ban from scrims, as we talked about last night. But let's talk about a couple of OpTic Scrims, because they've been playing a number of teams over the last few days, and most teams happy to allow them to practice against them live on broadcast. We've seen FaZe, they won the minor. They've had no problem at all with their practice being streamed, even by challenger teams, even if they're having a pretty hard time. But clearly FaZe, with the talent that they had, there was a question, would they figure it out? Would they be able to resolve some of the problems that they have? Clearly they have done, right? It's incredible the difference that a couple of weeks can make, going from a point where FaZe looked almost dead and buried, and there were questions whether they'd even, be able to contend for events this year, whether they're going to have to blow it up after Madrid. All of a sudden it looks like a very different story over there at FaZe. I'm still not convinced, like I want to see a bit more from FaZe just to absolutely make sure that they, because they still got nearly 100 point clubs by Heretics in the first half when they played at the weekends, and they've still felt a bit more vulnerable than in recent times, but they've definitely been getting better and better. So OpTic have been playing a number of teams. They played Boston. We saw the results yesterday. That was 5-3. They also played Rocker on the same day, and that was 6-4. I think on one of these maps, maybe it was the Vault, Nero dropped 55 kills and lost. So kind of incredible how in the space of a week or so, OpTic have played 2 series or 2 maps on Vault where somebody has dropped 50 plus against them and they've still won the map. So anyway, OpTic 6-4'd Rocker. They then played Miami last night, and then they played FaZe. So yesterday was, in terms of results, not a great day for OpTic in terms of scrims, but it was a good day if you consider what they might have learned. I mean, this is always the thing with scrims, isn't it? If you win, great, you won the scrim set, so you're looking good going into the tournaments. But obviously if you lose, then you're probably going to look at those maps more, you're probably going to learn more as a result. So there's an argument that yesterday for OpTic actually might be one of their best days of scrims, because there's a lot that they can learn from yesterday's results, but obviously going into a weekend of matches, they'll probably have wanted to have better results than the numbers suggest. Anyway, they played Miami, a team that on paper, look, they're pretty good in hardpoint, to be honest, Miami. Their search and destroy is woeful, and on red card, they nearly 100 point card FaZe, and they beat OpTic 251-40. I'm not going to show all the screenshots of these, because I wanted to share the screenshots of the FaZe one. Just wanted to see the general results. They won the Protocol 250-248. OpTic then won 2 of their controls. They lost the Hacienda. Interesting on the Hacienda, this is not a map that OpTic like for control. It's a map that they like for hardpoint, sure. Search and destroy, sure, but for control, it's not OpTic's favourite by any means. We can see that against FaZe. So I don't expect them to be playing that in many series going forward. They'll probably lean towards the other ones. But the big series really, of course, was against FaZe, because FaZe won the minor last year. We've barely ever seen this year so far OpTic even play FaZe in really anything at all. And last year, FaZe had OpTic's number big time. So is that going to be the same story this time with Huke in the team instead of Pred? What's going to happen? Here was Drazah, by the way, in the text chat saying, cash, are we playing for cash? This is kind of like a known thing that the pros for scrims will often put up some money for the scrims because then at least it incentivizes the teams to try and win, which, is probably what you want to be doing in a scrim. So, yeah, Drazah, I don't know if they actually agree to this or not, but Drazah loves putting a bit of money on the line when they play practice. And this is what happened in the OpTic series against FaZe. They played 7 maps in the ends, 6 of them were won by FaZe. And many of these had a pretty familiar story. OpTic, by the way, their vault has been looking impeccable. And again, another map where OpTic, or at FaZe, they, not far over 100 points. So I definitely still think FaZe have improved dramatically, there's no doubt. But they do still seem vulnerable at times. But I guess this is the first map they played. OpTic win at 250 to 118. And we can see the numbers here at the top of the screen. I know that the usual scoreboards are like this, but JP's, face here on the bottom left covers some of the names. So I went back and found all the screenshots so you guys can see all the numbers of all the teams. But many of these hardpoint maps were very similar to what we saw last year from this particular series in many times, when OpTic would be close, and then when it came to the final hardpoints, the final determining factor, FaZe would be the ones to get the rotation, win the gunfights, win the game. We saw that so many times last year, and this series was actually not too dissimilar. 250, 224, then there was the Hacienda, which OpTic of course good at. Dashy 32 in 21 with 2 minutes 21 in Hill. I think this is a talking point. It is a storyline because you look at this scoreboard and you're like, God damn, Dashy's on a generational run this year, but can we get this man some help? 2.5 minutes in the Hill, 32 and 21. And they're not even that close to winning the map. So Dashy will have thought, come on, lads, after this series. 250, 199 on the Hacienda. They then played the red card. This was a close one, 250, 219. Again, Dashy 38 in 30. He might be the best player in the game, but, I don't know. Simp, Cellium also frying. Simp had a great scrim set here as well. They then played the protocol. This was 250, 186. So, again, competitive maps, but maps that always were on the verge of going FaZe's way, and some of them relatively comfortable at that. And Shotzzy having kind of a few rough maps in here as well. This was the vault control that they played. I think there was one of these hardpoint maps, was it? I'm trying to find, this one, when Shotzzy was 20 and 39. Pretty rough map from him there. And yeah, just interesting, isn't it, right? Because Shotzzy was talking a lot on stream and on Twitter about the teams they're playing, not playing for the win and all this. And that's fine to say, and I don't think he's necessarily wrong. But of course, if you're gonna call people out like this, you gotta back up the words, right? And deliver some good results. So just something to keep in mind for the weekends. This was the vault control that FaZe won, and then the Hacienda control, FaZe went up 2-1, and then OpTic just quit. They decided they'd had enough. I think that's what happened anyway, and they decided to call it off there. So at the end of the series, a 6-1 result for FaZe. So lots to learn, I'm sure, to take away from both sides of this, but it definitely makes things interesting for this weekend, because OpTic play Thieves on the Sunday, and on paper, of course, that is going to be an absolutely massive game. Let's talk about the games then of this weekend and of today. OpTic play this evening against the Falcons, and these are the matches. Gorillas, they play Cloud9. I think Cloud9 are favourites for this one, probably quite comfortable favourites actually. They've been competitive with Ravens, who were second at the minor the last couple of times they've played them. Gorillas still have the potential, but they find a way to lose every single time, and I don't think that's going to change this evening. So I'm taking Cloud9 in that one. OpTic Falcons was very interesting at the minor. I think it probably is going to be less interesting this time, but still, I mean, based on the scrim results last night, who knows if Falcons can put up something of a fight. And the final match of the day is Rocker versus Ultra. Again, very interesting. I'll just say, for the guys of you that are first watching this, Rocker reached out to me last night and said, hey, we'd love to give you one of our bundle codes. I was like, thanks very much, but I don't really play Black Ops 6 anymore. Can I just give it away in a video? So if you guys are watching this after like the first 5 minutes, then apologies. But right at the bottom of the description, there will be a code. I think it's a Battle.net code, and you guys can get your Rocker bundle ready to go. One of you guys anyway, so apologies, it's probably gone. But yeah, Rocker play Ultra, and of course they played at the minor. Rocker won in 5, but Ultra will feel like they definitely should have won that series. They're up 2-0. They probably should have closed it up 3-0 on the vault control, but Insight didn't call in his streak. Then Rocker brought it back and brought the reverse sweep. There were a load of resets and replay cheeses. So I still think Toronto are the better team. So, but I think it's going to be close. So I'm going to take Toronto, but in 5. So, yeah, apologies, Rocker. Gave away the free code, but I'm still picking against you. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.